Morning guys, very windy today, here again. Okay, so I've been using this, just want to talk about my homemade Kephart. If you've seen my other videos, you'll see that I made this out of an old butcher's knife. Obviously I didn't forge it myself, but I did obviously cut the steel in the shape of the blade that I wanted, and obviously modified the handle as well. So the handle used to be a lot longer. I cut that down and shaped it to my hand kind of thing, to my grip. So I've been using it quite a few times just to get a feel for it. So I just wanted to discuss this kind of old school kind of Kephart type blade. So it's more of a drop point than it is a spear point. Obviously Kephart blade's supposed to be a spear point, but the original Kephart was kind of had a belly on it that met the point, and kind of a rounded drop point. So I've tried to make it as close as I can to the real deal, but I wanted a bigger belly on this side for fine carving tasks, and obviously good for skinning as well. Obviously you can choke up on that and do delicate tasks like skinning and things with that, or gutting fish, etc. But the cons and the pros and cons of having a knife like this compared to the original Kephart design that Horace had, and he had designed and made by a local blacksmith, because he was tired of using other people's knives from well-known companies as well, and what he wasn't happy with. So he kind of went to a blacksmith and with his designs, and then they came out with something like this, similar to this. But after you've been using it for a while, you begin to appreciate a tool like this, what it's capable of, and also what it's not capable of. Okay, so so the first thing is, a true Kephart knife should be no thicker than 3mm. Okay, if it's any thicker than 3mm, then it kind of takes away what the knife is supposed to do. Okay, so if it's slightly over 3mm, like 3.1, 3.2, that's fine. But as soon as you start to get to the 4mm territory, I think for a Kephart knife, I think that's probably a little bit too thick. Because you need the edge to be as thin as you possibly can to make it a good all-round tool. And don't forget, Horace Kephart did not design this knife purely for wood processing. Okay, he designed it for like skinning, buttering, cutting your veggies and your taters and things like that, and just light bushcraft tasks. Okay, this is more than capable of doing that. So what I found in the, is it 1.5, maybe 2 weeks I've been using this, I can't remember now, you'll have to watch my previous video, and some of the modifications that I'm going to be doing to it. So so the advantage of having a sharp spine, so let's start here. So the original Kephart knife had a rounded spine, not a sharp spine, not a 90-degree spine, not a squared off spine, because Horace had no need for a sharp spine on a knife back then, because there was no such thing as striking a ferro rod and things of that nature. So the original knife, Kephart knife, was rounded off at the spine. This one isn't, because I wanted a Kephart type kind of knife that had a sharp spine. Now the problems with that, and the problems that Horace Kephart didn't have, is that when you are doing delicate work like your wood processing, I'll give you an example. So let's say if I wanted to do a delicate task like notching, do your notches as usual, stop cut, and then you go into the push cut using your thumb, as I always do, and most of us do. Okay, move that out of the way. Now what's immediately apparent is that with a blade as thin as this, with a sharp spine, you are going to get this. See that depression on my thumb right there, and eventually it'll start to get really sore and possibly cause a nasty blister as well if you're doing this for quite a long time. It's not so much bad when you're doing the push cut, your downward push cut, to remove the wood to make your notch, say if you're making a notch like that. But for delicate tasks, when you get your knife in there, you can really feel that on your thumb. For two reasons: A, because it's a skinny blade, so there's not much meat there at all, and B, again, like I said, it's got a sharp spine because I wanted it to be sharp. So obviously I filed all that down and then smoothed it over, so it's got a nice finish on the back of it as well. But it is sharp, and not going to lie, after a while obviously your thumb will get quite sore after doing that. So that's a disadvantage of using a Kephart style knife as thin as this, with a sharp 90-degree spine, or at least a spine that's been squared off. So that's one thing if you're going to be making a knife or buying a Kephart knife. So that's one thing you need to bear in mind. Now, the Ka-Bar Becker BK62 was originally modelled off the Kephart design knife, because obviously Becker bought, as the legend goes, Becker of Ka-Bar bought the only one in existence, kind of thing, intact. Although that can be argued, because they do have a original Kephart design knife in a museum, and then obviously Becker owns another one. Whether or not it's the one that Kephart used, we don't know, but it's definitely the same style, the same build quality, exactly the same in every single way. But anyway, just like the original Kephart, the Becker BK62 has a rounded spine. Okay, so it's not 90 degrees, it's not squared off. So if you do happen to buy a BK62, it will not strike a ferro rod, and you won't be able to shave any bark or fat wood or anything like that off the back of the spine of your blade. So that's another thing to bear in mind. So obviously this one does have kind of a sharp spine, as I'll demonstrate, which I've demonstrated before. Okay, so it can be sharper, but it still does the job. Okay, as you can see. So that's one disadvantage. That can be, I suppose it can be a pro and a con in the same context. A pro because you can shave bark, it will strike a ferro rod, etc. But obviously a con because the spine is sharp, obviously it will damage your thumb after a while, unless of course you wear gloves. But even in winter, it's very rarely I wear gloves, because I like to have full control of my knife. When you wear gloves, it's different. You just don't get that control when you wear gloves. So I never wear gloves even in winter, if I'm honest. And so that's one pro about one negative about it, although one of the same, depending on what you want. So that's one thing to bear in mind when you're buying or making a Kephart style. Do you want the spine to be rounded, or do you want it to be sharp, so you can strike ferro rods or shave bark off sticks and things like that, or fat wood? That's entirely up to you. But we'll go on to another one, which is one I'm going to be modifying, is the handle. Okay, so originally the handle was a lot longer, because obviously this used to be a butcher's blade that I modified. Butcher's blades aren't really designed as such to be comfortable, because you're not going to be using it constantly all day every day. It's very rare that you'll be doing it. Obviously you just carve some meat up, chop some meat up or whatever, and then you put it down. Or even if a customer walks into a shop, you can cut some meat, cut some ham or something like that, and then the knife's discarded in that way. But obviously when you talk about bushcraft and camping, it's your kind of one tool that you'll be using for quite a while, so you want that handle to be as comfortable as possible. Now at first, when I cut the handle, reshaped the handle and sanded it and oiled it, etc., it fits my hand absolutely perfect, and at first it did feel comfortable. I could do push cuts with it quite comfortably. I can do chest lever cuts with it, quite comfortably. Really choke up on the blade. However, when you're doing the forward push and your forward strokes like feather sticks and things, I've noticed that this part of the handle near the tang is very sharp, and I can feel that. I can even feel that with my thumb, how sharp that is. So that when you're doing feather sticks and doing any kind of powerful strokes, forward strokes with your knife, that does dig in your hand. So although I've kind of finished the handle, I'm going to have to readdress that issue there, because if I'm out in the woods at any length of time, especially for a weekend or more, and I've only got this knife with me, it's going to be quite uncomfortable to use. So I'm going to have to go home, and again I'm going to probably put some pictures on it and show you the mods that I've done to it. So that's one thing that needs addressing. I need to try and round that off with sandpaper as best I can without taking too much away from the handle, because I like the handle thickness as it is right now, and don't want that handle to get any skinnier than it is. So I'm going to have to be really careful when I round that off. Well, that's one of the modifications I'm going to be doing. The spine, I'm going to probably leave that as it is. Obviously there's nothing I can do with the steel. The steel is 3mm thick. I can't suddenly add steel to the blade and make it thicker. So I'm going to have to, as far as the thumb's concerned, with the sharpness of the spine, I'm going to have to leave it as it is, and then just crack on with it, just grim and bear it. But the handle, I can certainly do that. It's not a problem, not an issue. As well, we've got I've put a full flat grind with a secondary. Well, I say I put it on, it actually already came with a full flat grind with a secondary, but obviously I've raised the secondary bevel just a little bit compared to what originally was, and also obviously thickened the tip area all the way along where the belly is, on both sides as well, all the way along to the belly. So I made the belly thicker as well to do more delicate tasks, etc., and to do like drilling tasks for like bow drill and things. The original Kephart knife was what was called a double convex, so it was convexed here, and then it carried on and then was convexed again near the edge. Okay, and obviously that would add strength to the edge of the knife. and also be good at delicate work and processing game as well. So why didn't Becker from K-Bar make his Kephart? Why didn't he stick to the original grind that was on the original? And I suppose the only way you can do that double convex that was on the original Kephart knife was to do it by hand. I've been in discussion with knife makers that I've known for years about it. Not because I want one, it's because I wanted to know a bit more about convex grinds and a double convex grind, because it's something that I've never heard of before. Obviously I've heard of convex grinds, but I've never heard of a double convex grind. That's kind of new to me until I started getting into Horace Kephart and things like that. And they've all said, well, I say all three of them have said, it is physically impossible to do a double convex grind on a machine. Okay, a double convex grind has to be done by hand. That is the only way to do it. So I can understand why that Becker made his BK62 a full flat grind with secondary bevel, because it's a lot easier, it's a lot quicker. If the knife is in great demand, you know, you'd be waiting, you know, months, possibly even years, if he made every single Becker BK62 with a double convex like the original had. So I can understand why Becker didn't put it on the BK62 if you can only do a double convex by hand. Imagine doing thousands of blades and grinding each and every single one by hand, doing that double convex, which is a very, very hard thing to do apparently. I've never attempted it myself. I've put plenty of convexes on blades, but I've never done a double convex, but there you go. I'd probably like to try it one day, but so yeah, so the Becker BK62 differs from the original by a double convex, and obviously I kept this in a flat grind with a secondary bevel. I think it's about maybe 2mm secondary bevel, and that upsweep there, increased it right to the tip. So again, this is not the true to the original grind either, same as the BK62 isn't. But slicing wise, it's a really, really good slicer. But being a flat grind with such a small bevel, you will struggle on things like when you push down into the wood to remove materials, again because of that grind. I discuss grinds on different videos, but I'm purely discussing Kephart knives in this instance, which is pretty much the same thing. So pushing down to remove materials from notches and similar things like that can be quite difficult, and it will take you a couple of attempts to do that, whereas other knives like a Scandi grind or a saber grind, etc., should do that with ease, and it will do that with ease compared to a flat grind. So that's something else to bear in mind before making one of these or purchasing a Kephart knife with a full flat grind. You know, it's not the best for wood processing, but it will do the job. But don't expect it to be as good as a Scandi grind or a saber grind. That's a lot higher and specifically designed for carving wood and shaping wood. The same with a convex. If you've got a convex grind that's quite high as well, that will be a lot better than this as well for delicate tasks. So that's another thing, pros and cons into owning a Kephart style or making a Kephart style knife. So I've addressed the blade shape and the spine. I've addressed, obviously I need to modify the handle, just round off these sharp corners more. You can just see it, how sharp that is. I thought I rounded it down enough, but obviously not. So I need to get some sandpaper on that again. Probably do it today actually if I've got time. But apart from that, and apart from as traditional as it goes, you know, this is a superb knife to take with you in the field. It really is. And to say that I made it myself, you know, is a bonus, you know. And really enjoyed using it so far. Really enjoyed it. Another thing is, most of our knives are carbon steel. I absolutely love carbon steel. I think it performs way better than stainless steel in the field, and also in the field it is a lot easier to sharpen carbon steel than it is stainless steel, and most carbon steels hold their edge pretty good compared to stainless steel. This unfortunately is stainless steel. I wish it was carbon steel, but it's not. I just wanted to I just had an old butcher's knife that I wanted to mod. I knew it was stainless steel because it said so on the blade, and it was very difficult to cut through. Anybody that's cut through stainless steel will agree with me. Trying to cut through 3mm or more thick stainless steel, it's a task and a half, let me tell you. The only thing I had, it was a Dremel and a hacksaw, and it took over an hour just to cut through this. And if you think it's if you think I'm lying about that, then attempt it yourself. Get a piece of 3mm carbon steel and try and cut through it with a hacksaw or a small Dremel. Then you'll know exactly what I mean. It was a bit of a pain. But if it was carbon steel, I should imagine it was a lot easier to cut through than stainless steel. This does not retain its edge as good as carbon steel. So I'd say after an hour of constant use with this, you will notice after a while that there is some rolls, not serious rolls, but they are there. You can see it with the naked eye. I could just see one here on the belly. Really tiny. But like I say, there's no chips. There's nothing serious. But like I say, after you've been using this for a while, for over an hour or more, when you finish, you do start to look across the edge, and you do start to see like a roll, maybe a roll there and a roll towards the belly, which suggests obviously this steel's quite soft in a way. So that's another thing you need to bear in mind. So if you can find a butcher's knife, 3mm butcher's knife, with like 3 pins on it or 3 rivets on it, then that would be ideal rather than stainless steel. You know, stainless steel is okay. It's a lot better for resisting corrosion than it is carbon steel, and it'll last a lot longer in regards to like acid or from fruits and vegetables and, you know, rain and things, more than carbon does. And that's the only advantage that stainless steel has, really. But if you're living in areas where you're going to be using this for fishing, getting exposed to salt water, etc., then yeah, you'd probably be better off with stainless steel like this. But I will be looking for a butcher's knife to modify, because I'm kind of addicted now to making knives after making this. But I'm now after another one, 3mm thick, with 3 pins in it, but this time I want it to be 3mm carbon steel instead of stainless steel, because I believe it will be a lot better cutting than stainless steel. But you know, if you've got some like greenwood, like this apple here, you know, it still really does carve really well, especially when you're debarking. You know, it's really good because of that flat grind. You know, really dead easy to do that. Harder woods like oak, pine, cherry, ash, it'll still do it, but not as well. So it's another thing to bear in mind as well. Because of the flat grind and that bevel, and because of the shape that it is as well, don't expect miracles when you come across harder woods to process in the field. So, but overall, for my first ever Kephart that I made myself, I will be making a sheath for this as well, which I will upload when I've done it. But I'm really proud of it, and I will be looking on different sites, going to car boots and looking at different knife websites, looking for a carbon steel 3mm thick carbon steel butcher's knife that I can hack up and make another Kephart like this, probably a replica of this, same measurements and everything, but who knows. So yeah, I'm going to stop ranting now and just give you an update on my Kephart knife, and what Kepharts are good for, and what they are not good for in regards to size, shape, thickness, etc. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. Catch you later.